Okay, thank you. Thank you, Susan. So I will present my screen. I also have a challenge with one of the laptop I'm supposed to use that has the Office, which is compatible with what we are using. It seems my battery is low and I forgot the charger, but all is good. Let's run with this. So I'm going to share my screen shortly. So I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, I can.
Okay. We shall run with the examples of some data here. It will just be looking at how those graphs look like. It is tomorrow when we shall deal with the exact data, how you format it, and how you set up yourself to come up with such beautiful charts. I know always we look up for something beautiful, but it is always the context first. Now, there is a guy, I think I've done many courses of his, it's called Chris Dutton, who you can find him on LinkedIn. He has a data company called Marvin Excel Marvins. Good that we started following each other. So sometimes I request for some presentation data from him. So that's where I got this. So this one, it shows 20 examples of charts which are common. And we are going to go through one by one. And I will need you to ask questions. I will be slow, such that we don't miss out the main objective for this call or this session. Now, we all know when to come up with a beautiful presentation, which we call visual. Visual is from seeing, so we call it data visualization. So we started from far. By then, when we are cleaning data, we used formulas to see how you can play with data to make sure that you come up with something that you can easily start working with. Then we came out and looked at pivot tables, which took us 3 sessions, I think, if I remember very well. So it is from the pivot session, from the pivot where we pick up now, how do we present this data? So it is from the summaries you'll have created. That's where you start from thinking about a chart, a graph, any presentation, any type of visual you're going to use. So in this slide or this session, I'm going to take you through the principles you consider, the type of charts you consider, and what type of data you have before even you choose a chart to use. I know most of us, we are used to some charts because they are easy for us, or we have expertise to those charts. But in the ideal, is it the right chart to use for your data? You find someone is using a pie chart, which is having a comparison of more than 7 categories. Yet a pie chart, we know that you should never exceed 4. If you have gone at most, it should never be 5. Then you look at people using line charts. Like last time you told me, oh, we have been using line charts in a wrong way. So you'll find that line charts, they are mapped to a data that is specific. That data should always have a trend. It should always have a timeline. A timeline, I mean, you can have months, you can have days, you can have dates, you can have years, you can have centuries, but it has to be a timeline. It has to show a trend from one period to the other. Now, what are the principles we consider in data visualization? We are going to look at the 3 main principles. Just stick them in your head. Every time you think about pulling out a chart, then you should consider these principles. Now, the first principle is we should always strive for clarity and simplicity. What do I mean by clarity and simplicity is you should not create a lot of noise. Some of us, we are so much colorful that you'll want to use every color that Excel will give you. It's not that. At the end of the day, the people you're presenting to, it is context. What you're presenting, is it of value and do they pick it? There is a principle, they say that when you look at any visual, after 5 seconds, or if I can take them to 7 seconds, after 5 seconds, if that person cannot start getting the meaning of the visual, then that visual is wrong. Or it is not, that person is not the target audience. So we are going also to look at what is the audience? Which audience are you going to present to? If you're going to present to CEOs, the chart has to be different. If you're going to present to operation teams, the chart has to be different. Not everything that can be entertained by any audience you're presenting to. So we strive for clarity and simplicity. You should maximize impact. The impact is, if I show you or if I flash a chart like this, there and then, do you start picking out something? Yeah, in the first second, when you look at this chart, I have already seen the months. I'm seeing on the right side, there is that axis is showing dollars, that's currency. Even though on the right, on the left side, it is not marked or numbered. I can easily tell because I already have at least 70% of what has been shown in the data. Then another thing, you'll see that it is not having a lot of noise. It is just one simple color, which is not so dull, which is not so bright. So we look up to that. You're looking at this, you see the grid lines are somehow faint because we want the attention of the audience to be on the bars. And that's why you'll see that the borders of the bars are bolded, and even the legends, the axis, the values of the axis are also bolded because that's our attention. We are pulling the attention of the audience to specifically those items. Still the same thing here. When you look at it, there and then you tell that this graph is showing a trend by month, even though you haven't told, they haven't told you what it is showing, but at least we have legends here showing transactions, showing transaction by percentage. Automatically, you know what the graph is talking about. So that's what they are telling us here. Make sure that you keep clarity and simplicity. Minimize on the noise. Then he says, if it doesn't add value or serve the purpose, get rid of it. We have always come to such graphs here. I can click on them. We have gone ahead to add numbers, to add pictures, to add emojis, to make sure that it looks beautiful. Maybe that's not the target. The target is the context. And if I add labels on every bar, then do I still need the axis? Those are the things we are going to start asking ourselves. Then focus on creating a narrative. So a narrative is focus on telling a story. Like we have seen at this chart, already the audience is telling a story about this. From January to December, that's automatically from month number 1 to month number 12. That's a year. Even though they don't put for me here years. So it doesn't make sense someone to put for me January 2022, February 2022, up to December 2022. The 2022 was not, it is creating a lot of noise. So bring the 2022, slash it off all the labels on the axis, take it in on the header. Show these are transactions by month 2022, period. Rather than putting the 2022 here and you squeeze the whole, you squeeze the whole labels on the x-axis, which is going to create noise. So they are saying, don't just show data, tell a story. So if I present you my chart, it should tell a story. Like we saw last time, when even tomorrow we are going to look at those graphs. Like we shall be using the data we are used to always. We shall tell a story. Last time when we did pivots, there is some data we played with, and at the end of the day, we were telling a story like every Monday, the dispatch is high, on Thursday it is low. It becomes a routine. That is the story. You have already told a story in your chart, if it is a chart. Communicate key insights clearly, quickly, and powerful. So when you look at such a chart, they are clear insights and you are communicating them quickly. Those are months. You're communicating currency. You're communicating the total spend or the number of clicks on the other end. When we go to like some other chart, you see like this bar chart, you'll see that it is just brief. It's communicating what is on the x-axis and what values are being carried, and the header is just simple. Sales by Gina. So sales by month, sales by Gina per and month. So you'll see it is not cluttered. Some people, we have headings which run from the left corner to the right corner. It reaches the right corner, it creates a second line, and you call it a heading. It means that you creating attention to the audience to take enough time to read the heading, of which they are going to lose out the context of what you want them to see. So the heading should be just brief and short. If you have anything you have to narrate, bring it as a text box under that chart. Narrate. Always a text box will be an added read for your presentation. So that's why they say it should always be clear, quick, and powerful. Powerful, we mean it should be short and precise. Strive a balance between design and function. Yeah, as I've already said that we always look at designing. I wish I had some cluttered charts here. I would have shown you, but I will present some before we end the call. So you'll find that you have more than 3 colors. So last time I told you that with all visuals, always we target 3 colors. That's why, because of that principle, it automatically tells you that a pie chart should never be even more than 5 or more than 3. So because we target 3 colors, the moment you have a pie chart with 7 categories, those are 7 colors, you're already in a mess. So we should focus on design and between design and function. So we should balance, we should try to have that balance. Yes, you want something that is presentable, but still you have to remember that there is a context you're showing up. So selecting the right type of a chart is critical. We are going to look at that tomorrow when we are dealing with data, or even in this document, we are going to look at it. Very critical, every chart has its own function or purpose. Not every chart that can drop into your visuals. Then beautiful is good, yes. Functional is better, but both is ideal. That is like a disclaimer. Yes, you need beautiful, but it is good. We are not saying that it is best. And you see functional is better, but both of them is the best, or both of them, it is an ideal. So let it be beautiful. Beautiful, what do we mean? You should minimize the noise, you should maximize the impact, the clarity. So those are the 3 principles you can always think about when you're choosing your chart, or before you present anything to anyone. You should always think about the 3 principles. Are they all put into context? Is it simple? Is it telling a story? Is the design simple? And am I pushing out the context of the data I'm presenting? So those are the principles we go with. Now, here they want to show us the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, let's look at these charts. They are clearly precise. Okay. These charts, we are saying they are good. They are clearly precise. You see, the header is just short, or maybe the filter that is there because they were selecting by year. Now, instead of having like 5 years all put on the axis, there are some charts you can choose and have filters. We have looked at slicers. That's why we have slicers. You don't have to put all the 5 years on the chart. Have a slicer for the years, then let the users select the years by themselves. 2022, 2023, such that at the bottom you remain with the months, Jan to December, very simple. So here they are showing you the main things they are looking at to call this good. It's clean, simple visualization with an animation over time. So the animation they are talking about, when you do a selection here, it will automatically change to the data you have selected. Then there is this, where you're having a dynamic formatting, which helps you to strengthen the story. Why am I saying here it strengthens the story? It's because that you are telling a story from 1st of May to 29th of May. It is automatically, the colors tell it all that this is my target. You see, I'm telling a story using my visuals. I've not put any wording. This is my target, sorry, my trend. Below that target, the moment the curve dragged itself below, then automatically that was in red. The moment it moved on top of the target, automatically that is in green. I've already told a story, someone will just look at the cutoff, which was 18, and that person will know that on 18th, we had our cutoff to the positive end of maybe the revenue. So up to the end of the month, which is so brief. Then look at this gauge chart. The gauge chart clearly tells you that what we are presenting is between 60 and 80. And looking at the gauge handle, it is over 70, which means they're around 72. Very simple. We didn't need the 72 here, but we needed the audience to tell that what we are presenting is at a risk because of the colors, because we left green and we are going to red. That's already a story. The colors are telling a story. So, because you're using the colors, right? I'm talking about the current accident risk, and it is in 70. Automatically, it shows that it is already past amber. It is going to red. Then that's it. So it is simple, intuitive, and it is customized. We have customized the design. Then we move now to the bad. You know, this was the good. Now, what is the bad? Look at the bad. There is this chart, this person was presenting the tech companies. Either, now we can't tell whether he was presenting the revenue or their sales or the way how they have penetrated the market globally. No one can tell. But what we see, it is either beautiful diagram, it looks not beautiful, it is just confusing. I tell you the truth, your audience are going to turn their eyes to their phones and leave you present. When you slide to another slide or another part of the story or the presentation, they will come back because they will not understand this. And the first thing you should always put into consideration, never to make your audience switch off. And even that's why in presentation, in meetings, we have agendas. The agenda that is going to switch off people is always put at the end. Why? Because it will switch off someone up to the end of the workshop. So that's why you'll start, they always start with something that is engaging, then at the end they give you an exam. Imagine you enter the workshop and you're doing an exam first time. It means all those who will have failed or below average, they will not have the attention. So the same thing here. So confusing, we don't know what they are communicating. So here they are saying the design is all there, but no function, because we don't know what they are presenting. Then there is this, it's busy. You see the yellow goes up, down, even we get lost somewhere with orange, we follow orange, we remember that we are following yellow. At the end of the day, you can't tell the story. You can't tell who was the best. If it is speaking about the performance per month. When you look at the axis at the bottom, you have June, you have July, you have August. September is skipped, you have October. November is skipped, you have December. So confusing. So here he says it's busy and it has no clear narrative. So if you find yourself, you have a graph like this, know that it is bad. It is already in the bad state. Here we come with our pie chart, misleading chart type. First of all, you have many colors. That's one. Second, the way how you're using the colors. How can 18.2% be in red and 9.1 in blue? Anyway, even though we don't, actually it is monthly sales. So already you have put a narrative. People are going to look at the colors. People know that red is always on the bad side. Green is always on the good side. So the moment you present this, I will automatically tell you December is okay. And I will tell you the red, which is October, is not good. But it is 18.2. There is 9.2. There is even this which doesn't have a value. So always think about this. We shall look at pie charts and how we can make them in a better version. I'm not saying you can't have all the 5, because these are 5. And I remember when I was starting, we can always go with a maximum of 5. But look at the colors. And another thing, make sure that start with a big, as you go on, the trend should be from descending or ascending. It is up to you. But you see here, it is big. You have something relative, you go to 9.1, you again have 18.2, as if 18.2 should have been before 9.2. It would have been a better trend for someone to follow up. So that is it. That is bad. Now look at the ugly. This is ugly. What makes it ugly? Number one, the first chart. I always tell people in my discussions that never use 3D design. The 3D you'll always find in Excel is not there for you. You leave it. Never use anything to do with 3D. Even if you are showing 2 comparisons, never use 3D. So at this, when you look at this chart, actually I can't pick anything. So I automatically leave. I can't pick anything. You see, we have the 3D, you have, yes, the 3 axes, but you're not telling any story. So too many elements, distracting. Then we have this misleading axis. Now, when you're creating your charts, make sure you should not always start from a higher number. Let our charts always start from 0. That will always bring out a good impression that this is how it is. Like here we are telling a story that April was so much higher, the difference was higher, yet the difference between April and May, it is just 6,000, just 6,000. Remember, already these 2 months are over 170, 180,000. So because of that 6,000, someone looks at April as if there was too much difference between April and May. Why is this narrative there? Because we didn't start our axis from 0. That is just period. So this is always misleading. Make sure that your charts start from 0. If they don't start from 0, put a narration somewhere, noting it out. Sometimes in slides or in PowerPoint, we have an axis which we put a zigzag. We always have zigzag. So when you put a zigzag, someone will look at it and know that, yes, The axis was broken. Okay, now here we go. When we look at this, yes, yes, someone is trying to bring out a good visual, but the way how you use the colors is the poorest, the way how you use the percentages. When you present anything in percentage, it should always be totaling to 100. If it can't total to 100, then it was not meant to be in percentage, period. The moment you're presenting anything in percentage and it is not adding up to 100, then it was not meant to be in percentage. Have those values as how they are meant to be. Don't bring the percentages. Do you know that if this person didn't put percentages and put 22, 48, this 78, 61, it would make more sense than the percentage. Then another thing. The colors, it is already a mess. The moment you bring in red, you have to show what red means. You can't tell people that willing to learn is 61%, yet it is in red. And you tell, this is describing how baby boomers describe themselves. So someone is describing himself that he's a tech savvy because it is in green. I have a smartphone, don't discount my technical abilities. It is 22%, it is in green, but 61 is in red. So even if I was looking out for what is the best characteristics for this person, I will choose green first, but green is the worst. Then there is this in purple, which was meant to be green, which is people savvy. So that is improper use of percentages and inconsistent scaling. So when you use scaling, start with do descending or do ascending. Whichever you use, it's your choice, but make sure that there is consistency. Either you're coming from the highest to lowest or lowest to highest. Okay, I don't know whether there is any question. We have run now 30 minutes, but if there is any question, please. You can raise your hand and ask a question, but that's how we differentiate the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we are going to meet these graphs. You're going to create a graph. Because you have been in this session, you'll automatically tell that what I've done is bad, what I've done is ugly, or what I've done is good. Okay, there we go. Now, before your audience ask themselves questions, you know, you will present to me something, I will ask myself a question. Even what type of data is using? What is that person trying to communicate to the audience? And we have to look at the audience we are presenting to, or the recipients to your reports. Now, the first question you have to ask yourself, what type of data are you working with? It is the data you are working with that is going to give you the visuals you're going to pick. So here they give you examples. We have integers, you have real numbers, you have categorical data, time series, that is Jan to December, 1st to 31st, Monday to Sunday. Those are time series. Then geopartial. Are you using longitude and latitude? Then if you have that type of data, then you need a map chart. Yes, in 2016 Excel, it can give you a map chart. Then you need a map chart. You don't need to go for at times any line chart or a bar graph because you have longitudes and latitudes. So a lot of types of data we can state here. A lot, you can name them. Then another question you should ask yourself, what are you trying to communicate? Are you showing your audience the relationship between either one plant and another plant, or one supplier and another supplier, or one transporter and another transporter? The relationship means showing a relationship that most of our transporters, maybe sheep, this type of cement. That's a relationship. Then you create a pattern in someone's mind that this transporter all the cement is doing, it goes to key accounts, which means when I'm looking for that transporter, I will expect to find there the Power Max, the Power Plus. That is already a relationship. Then, are you trying to compare? If you're comparing this month and the other month, which type of chart are you supposed to use? Which should be different from what you used when you're doing relationships? Then, are you trying to create a composition like between this day and this day, we always do this. Between 1st and 15th, this is how it is always done. And at the end of the month, this is how it is always done. That is a composition, which I can also call a distribution. Like between the age of everyone working in the plant is between, the highest is between 30 and 45. That will be frequency and the distribution. You'll find 50 to 60, they are like 5 people, 60 to 65, it is like 1 person. Let's say 20 to 25, they are like, those are the many, the youth. So that is a distribution. Then another thing, are you trying to show us a trend? If I can go to a line chart like this. Are you trying to show a trend? Then if you are trying to show us a trend, at the bottom, you should have time series. So when you come to my data, you'll see at the bottom, it was date, because we are trying to show a trend. That is a line chart automatically. Then for the distribution, you'll come here on the histogram and the parental chart. So you'll see from between 67, 68, this is it. Between this and this is it. That is the distribution. The audience will automatically tell that 73 and 74, they are the highest. You have already told a story. There is nothing much you have to explain because it shows by itself. Then that's what I'm telling you. What are you trying to communicate? I'm not going to bring a Pareto or a histogram and I put it on a line chart. It will never make sense. Or and I put it on an area chart. It will never make sense. Or I bring it on the pie charts. It will never make sense. Because the ideal is, what are we trying to communicate? Who is the end user? Who is consuming your information? Is that person an analyst? Like, even if it is shabby, that person can look at the numbers and connect the dots. Is it the CEO who doesn't want to know which type of truck you use to ferry cement from one plant to a customer, but what he wants to know, how much revenue did we gain there? What was the gross margin? How did it affect your charts of accounts? A lot. That's a CEO. If it is a client, the client will want to know how much is he benefiting. You know, then the intern, maybe I can say the intern. This now is the person who will want to know which truck took which trip, what time did it leave, and if it left at that time, what was Jigo, what, a lot. So it is always the end user. So the moment you ask yourself these 3 questions, then you are the champion in your presentation. So here we have looked at, I'm just doing a recap. We have looked at the principles of data visualization. We looked at 3, the basic 3, very simple and short. We have looked at the charts, the good, bad, and ugly. We have looked at the 3 key questions you should always ask yourselves. The moment you ask yourself this question and your data speaks to exactly the answers you have in your head, then you're perfect to go ahead and present. Now, I will ask, just unmute, ask me any question. Then after that, then we can go look into one by one. I've told you today we are not going to touch any data, not until we understand the theory behind, because we have always failed to even use that data because we don't know what to select or what to choose. Any question, guys? Or if there is any comment, then we can proceed. Okay. I know someone hasn't told me that I'm not audible. It means that I'm audible. So we are going to proceed. Now, we are going to look at one chart by one. I will share with you this document. I'll put it in our repository we created, that drive. Then I'll share a link. You can always go there and just have a review because we need it. Okay, now, the most charts we know commonly known, it is always the bar and column charts. Now, today we are going to differentiate between a bar and column charts. I will go directly onto Excel just to show you when we go to charts. And we come to this. Now we have column charts and bar charts. I told you the other time that don't look at anything 3D. It is not meant for you. This one is used in other applications. Don't ever use it. So anything that the columns, I can call them columns, or the bars are vertical, we call that a column chart. Anything you do, or it is stacked, or it is still stacked 100%, and it is horizontal, we call those bar charts. So when you come here, this is a column chart. Sorry, this is a bar chart, and this is a column chart. This one is stacked. We are going to get the purposes why we stack. It is not because it is beautiful, we should always stack. So we are going to get those purposes. Now, here, the first thing, this one is used to compare numerical data across categories. If you don't have anything numerical in your data, don't tamper with bar charts and column charts. The data we are looking at before for dispatch, we call it, okay, HODIM data, it was having a numerical column or field which was quantity. Automatically that one was okay to put it on a bar or a column chart. But the moment you don't have anything that aggregates, never tamper with bar charts or column charts. So that is the only thing you should always think about if you're to pick a bar chart and a column chart. Now the examples, here I'm giving you examples. Where do we use these? Like if you are having total sales by product type, you're having total dispatch by commercial carrier, total volumes delivered by, okay, total volumes by ship to, all those are bar charts or column charts. Then we shall also look at, why do I have always to go for a bar chart or I have to go for a column chart? It speaks by itself here that if you are comparing more than one category under a subcategory, like it is January, but in every month we are comparing 4 categories, then you can't use a bar chart. There's going to be confusion, which means you'll always come to use a column chart. But if everything stands as loan, then you can always come for bar charts. So here you're only doing comparisons of 2 things. One should be a numerical, another one should be the category you're doing comparison on. So on this document, you'll find pro tips. So the pro tips here, they are telling you that use stacked and clustered bars or columns to group by subcategory or compare multiple metrics. This is what they are talking about. So for you to use clustered, you must be having more than one metric. The metric here I'm using, I'm talking about, you see here the movies. We have comedy, thriller, documentary, and romance. So, but still we need to have them compared by months. So which means you'll have the months at the bottom, then you'll bring the 4 compared here. So the bottom one will always be the highest, but I'm not saying it will be the highest on each month. So when you click on the bottom one, or when you look at the legend, we should always see that as comedy, then the next as thriller, the next as documentary. It can always even go by the arrangement it is in the raw data. So I think that is it. Then another pro tip we have, create custom formatting rules to bars, columns based on their values. So you can always do that based on their values, which means you can always have this one given a different color because I want everyone to focus on September when I'm presenting this. I can go there on September and give it its own feel of a solid color, and I change this color maybe to green. So the moment I change that to green, you see only one bar will be colored green. Why? Because immediately when you present this or when you flash this, everyone will be attentive on September. Why is September having a different color? Because I've come in this meeting to talk about how September, the team did well than the other months. Then you may want another focus. When you double click on that chart, we shall see all that tomorrow. I never wanted to go into the practice part of it before we understand the theory. So when I present this chart, even a layman can tell what I'm trying to depict. That person will automatically tell how in September they did well and in March they did the worst. Then me who is presenting, I don't have to start explaining why I made the other one red, I made this green. I will start doing my narrations. Either you have a script you are reading through explaining the chart, because everyone has already understood by colors that September and March, there's something to look at. Okay. I think I scroll to something else we call histograms. Last time we looked at histogram when we are doing pivot tables, and I showed you how we come up with data that can always give us a histogram. Is you can always group your data. We looked at that grouping. You reach a point when you always need such a visual in your chart. Now, the Pareto is something new. Few people have used it. Now, for it, it shows the cumulative impact. Now, what cumulative impact, there is a story where they say that the 80-20 rule, I know maybe some of you should have heard of it, that the 80% of an impact will always be led by 20% of the cause. Let's say, giving you an example, 80% of traffic, it is brought about by 20% of the roads. Not all roads will have traffic. The highest traffic, which will say 80% of the traffic, will be led by the 20% of the roads. Then you'll also say that 80% of the wealth lies in the hands of 20% of the human individuals. Like in Uganda, the economy, you'll find that 20% of the high rich guys, they are only 20%, but they are having 80% of the economy in their hands. That is the 80-20 rule. Now, when we come to look at that impact always, that's when we come and look at use a Pareto. We are going to use it at some point. You'll see whether it is always viable for you to use or not, but it is something good when you understand how to explain it. So here they tell us that the histogram shows the distribution. I've already told you, it shows the distribution, how your numbers are distributed. I gave you an example of age in the plant. So here we go. I will not repeat it. So here they say the examples: frequency of test scores among students, distribution of population by the age group, distribution of height by the weights, a lot. You can do a lot of the examples which come up with histogram or Pareto. Now, Pareto, the good thing with the Pareto charts, that for them, they will always sort your distribution from highest to lowest. Then the Pareto line will always give you the impact. That 73 to 74, which is the highest, brings a low impact to these numbers. Anyway, we shall explain that. Now here are the pro tips. They are saying adjust the bin size to customize the grouping of the values. You can always adjust this. We saw the other time how we adjusted the bin size. Actually, sorry to those guys who skipped that session, but I know the recordings are there. We can always go back and review. We did pivots where we are doing grouping data. We did that. So I can give you a snip of it. Where are my Pareto charts here? So if I wanted to group these heights, so when I click to this, you see it has grouped the heights. You have data which is just inclusive of the heights, but I want to group and know which range of age that is having a lot of people or the highest frequency. It automatically gives you. So the moment I select this and I go to insert chart, then you can always go to recommended, but you can look for it where it is, which is here. So when I come to this insert chart, it will always insert for me the histogram, and here it even groups for you. So I will show you how we go ahead and change the bin. That's the gap. We shall look at a lot is there waiting for us. So that is it with the histogram. So here they are telling us use the Pareto charts to show the cumulative impact of the bin. So here the bin, the way how it is impacting the whole distribution. So, and it is always in an ordered manner, either from highest to lowest, but it's always from highest to lowest. I don't know whether there is any question, but please, in case you feel like we are leaving you or the speed is high, you can always ask. Today, we are not doing anything practical, but still we need to ask where you don't understand. Okay. Now, the line charts, which we are using to. Now, from today,
I have a question, Subtech.
Yep.
Thank you. So kindly go back a bit.
Okay, here.
Yes, on Pareto charts. So for example, if I'm just presenting the sales for the business for the last 6 months, and there is up and down in terms of the revenue, whereby, let's say, the first 3 months we've been steadily growing in terms of the numbers. Then the 4th month there's a drop, and the 5th month and 6th month we took off again. Can I use the same chart to present the same data, considering the fact that the month's numbers are going to be up and down? Can I use the same chart to present the same data?
Sorry, I didn't wait for the question mark to answer, but the answer is no. What you have explained, it is typically this. You're presenting something to do with either sales by month, then you'll have to use either column chart. You don't use a Pareto. A Pareto is looking at the distribution. The distribution is, if you have people buying and you have different amounts in the system, and you want to see where do we have the highest frequency of people buying the amounts, then you'll group your amounts from 500 to 1,000, from 1,000 to 5,000, from 5,000 maybe to 10,000, like that. Then you'll find that your data will bring for your distribution that, do you know what? Your highest customer always buy things between 10,000 and 15,000. That is now Pareto or histogram. But if you're looking at sales by month, even though it is dropping, doing what, you use the bar graph. Then I will show you if you always want to put it in an ascending or descending order. But now the question comes, if you are descending or ascending the months, even though May was having blank, May stays in its position. We don't bring December at the beginning because it is having high sales, and the next is July because it has the next sales, it was second, and maybe the last is February because it was the poorest month. No, You don't do that. Actually, that's what they were explaining to us here. You see here, you have to have it very clear. You have to have a clear narrative on that. Also, anyway, on all the good and the bad and the ugly, it automatically shows you that you can't skew like that because you want to show the best months first, then the worst last. The moment you have something that is, everyone knows that it is always a chronological set, January, February, March, June, like that up to December, you can never skew that. The moment you present that and January is the first, July is following, people will look at July as Feb, and they will have automatically misinterpreted your data. So we only use Pareto or histogram for frequency. But what you were asking, you use a bar graph. Okay, we go to the line charts. Now, from today and onwards, if you don't have anything to do with dates, month, day, year, never think about a line chart. Never think about a line chart. It doesn't bring the context of what you're presenting. The moment you have data that doesn't have all what I've stated, that is a time series, never think about a line chart. So, and the time series should always be on the horizontal axis. If it is month, let it be on the horizontal. If it is days, if it is day, if it is anything, so long as it is a time series, leave it to be on the horizontal axis. Take the numerals on the other axis. You're free to have two axes. It's okay. You can have percentage and maybe currency. You can have age and weight on the other. We shall look at how you create those combo line charts, but time series should always be on the horizontal axis. So we do this to always monitor the trends. And you always have to make sure that it is linear. From 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, even if there is zero, let the chart drop, let the curve drop to zero, and we see how it is again gaining. But don't skip a 7th because a 7th is having zeros. The chart itself will have the dates. The moment the IntelliSense of the system you're using, either Excel or Power BI, the moment it detects that this is time, it will bring you all the dates in that chronological order. So it is up to you to see how you can manage them. So I think that is okay. So we use these examples: stock price by hour, average temperature by month, profit by quarter. You see everything that is saying by, it is a time series. Now here, use the pro tips. Use linear or polynomial trend lines. Now when we go to trend lines, where are my line charts? These trend lines, so when we are adding trend lines, let me come here. When you're adding trends here, they are telling us that always use linear or polynomial. Don't use exponential. Don't use moving average, because moving average will move with the curve. You're not creating any difference because it will move with the curve. Wherever the curve is going, that's where it will be moving. So it may not create any sense. Then it also depends on the data you have. So this one was using a polynomial because they were looking out for a certain factor, a relationship between Google and Amazon. So we shall look at how we add all those elements. I think we know that well, that we always have to use the two types of trend lines to visualize patterns or forecast future periods. Then there is a combined line and column charts to trend two variables of different scales. Now, the moment we have quantity and we have revenue by month, if you want to make a combo, make sure that one is a line chart, like how you see this line, another one is a column chart, because they have different axes. you'll find that the revenue is in billions and the quantity is just in hundreds. You can't put them on the same chart. The moment you put them on the same chart, this line will lie on the horizontal. It will lie low, and it will not give a difference. So we shall look at charts like this, where you come and create an axis on the right. So we shall look at that. Okay. If there is no any question, then we go to area chart. You know, these area charts are good to use, but it depends on the audience. We have already talked about that. The moment you understand that your audience are not going to get anything from the area charts, don't use them. Go for line. And area charts, always we use it when we are comparing more than like 3, 4. Because when you come on this line chart and put like 5 lines, it also loses meaning at some point. So the area chart here comes and picks it up. And now the area chart means that the yellow one is higher, its values are all higher than the green one, than the orange, than the blue. That's what it means. We shall look at that here, area charts. So when you look at romance, the movie's romance, it is cumulative. It means that between gray, the line you're seeing gray here, where it ends, and where yellow ends, between there, that's the value for romance, 14,381. It doesn't mean that romance is peaking from here up to the bottom. That's what it means. For the blue, it peaks from here up to there. Then the orange, which is thriller, is peaking from here up to there. Then documentary is peaking from there up to there. So that's how the line, the area chart reads. It doesn't mean that this yellow, which is romance, that for Feb, it was peaking from here up to here. In other words, let's look at Feb. Is it over 80,000? Let's look at the data here. So that's romance. So when you come to Feb romance, you see it's that. But it is only showing cumulative that from comedy, which is up to 47, which is from here up to 47, this. Then when you leave here up to there, it gives us 60 something, which means between this and this, it gives us 64. Then when you add documentary, which is here, from here up to here, it goes to around 700 something, which means if I add documentary like this, it goes to 73,000. So guys, that's how they read area charts. So if you can't pick that difference in the area charts, then you don't have to use them. Now, when you look at this area chart, I will automatically tell that gray, that is documentary, it is the lowest. Then I will tell that in the end of the year, starting from May to December, thriller was picking up. The area is the area is bigger. Comedy was shrinking because the area is going smaller up to December. Then romance is equilibrium. You see the area going from January to December. Let's look at its data. When you look at romance, you'll see that it is 14, 14, 11, 14, 13, 14, 13. You see, that's the equilibrium we are seeing here. But when you look at thriller, which is orange, you'll see that it started 12. It increased to 16, 15, 18, 24. When we reached June, it went to 30. That's the difference you're seeing there. 34, 24, 42, 41, 30. You get. So that's how we read area charts. If you are creating area charts for design and you didn't know how to read it, or your audience are not going to read the difference, then don't use it. Now, if you are showing comparison, you can always use an area chart, which means if if gray here is showing Democrats, then red is showing Republicans, and this is from anyway, we don't have the axis, the meaning of the axis, but these are numbers, which means, let's say they are votes. And even here, they are numerals, they are votes. So when you select 2021, it shows you that from one, we didn't have any Republican, but the Republican came on increasing as we are going on. This is the distribution. At 9, it was that high. And when we reached this equilibrium, the Democrats was reducing as the other one was increasing. So we shall meet that on how to come up with such, but as of now, those are area charts. What are the pro tips? Keep the number of unique categories relatively low, less than 6. If you have more than 6 categories and you use an area chart, then you're not keeping the clarity. Use data validation and custom formatting to dynamically highlight specific data series. So what they are saying here there is a data validation that is being used here, such that you can scroll from one year to the other, such that we don't clutter the whole of this and have all the years here. So I think that is well clear enough. So those are area charts. Is there any question? We have gone 1 hour straight. Okay. Let's look at our friend pie charts and donut charts. There is everyone who has used Excel, he has somewhere picked a pie chart or a donut chart. So how do we use the donut chart? Comparing proportions totaling to 100%. If you are doing anything that is not totaling 100%, then don't use pie charts. So as I've already said, you also don't go for more than 6. Here it is being highlighted out. The number of slices should be smaller than 6 to maximize readability. Then even the donut chart can be the same thing. Even the half donut can be the same thing. I'll show you even how we break such to make sure that you create such a chart. Use donut chart to visualize more than one series at once. So when you look at a graph like that, let me come on donuts. So you look at this. You see, we have costs and revenue and category. If we considered only these two, it will be now giving a pie chart like this. Even it can give a donut. But if you wanted to compare cost and revenue, and at the same time you have the categories, the 3 of them, you'll always come for such a donut chart. So it is just a selection, then you come to insert, and you look for the chart. So there are many charts. We shall see how we use them. No, this is a chart. We have to use a donut chart. Insert. Where is a donut chart? Here we go. And it will automatically split for you the two. So the moment I come here to reduce to increase the donut size or reduce the donut size, so this is what you get. It means that on apparel, I have one inside and another outside. So you can go ahead and rename this. Here you can go ahead and put labels or chart titles, legends actually. We can put legends there. Can put show labels. No. Anyway, we shall come to that. So here you'll find that the inner one is a cost, the outer one is revenue. So you can clearly tell that which one is doing best. Here you can actually tell what is doing best. We are garnering a lot of revenue on electronics and the cost is low. Then you see we are spending a lot on apparel and the revenue is low because ideally of the portions it is taken. If I put this in percentages, you'll automatically tell that the percentage of a cost on apparels is higher than the percentage of a cost on electronics, though electronics is having higher revenue than the other one. Very easy and self-explanatory. But what are we doing here? We are having more than 3, more than 2 categories we are looking at. That's why we use the donut chart. And the moment you want to use 3, still it will give you the 3. Let's try it out. So when you come to this and look out for a donut chart, here we go, it will give you the 3. So when I click on that and reduce the donut size inside, there we go. So the inner one will be cost, the outer one is revenue. The moment you click on it, you'll see highlighting on data, and the outer one is the revenue graph. So I think that just shows you the difference between a donut chart and a pie chart, and how best you can always use a donut chart. Very easy, and it carries a lot of data. Okay, we move to scatter plots. This one is rarely used actually because it always looks at the correlations and relationships. And mostly when you go for search, you'll find that you're dealing with data that you need to know the relationship. How do you tell the relationship? Is where there is high concentration, then those items are related. They are either items or they are numerals or something to do with that. So we shall say here, 80 people with 80 wins, most of them are doing runs between 650 to 850 because this is the 80. The concentration is here, which means the higher you have the wins, and the higher the wins, the higher the runs you gain. But if you make more runs and the wins are not increasing at the other rate, it means still it comes low. So when you put this, we used to call it a line of, I've forgotten that line, but we shall look at it. In charts here, we shall call it a trend line, but in statistics, there is a name they give it. So that line shows you how related your data is. So this data is already related, that it has a positive coefficient. And if it was running from here to low, it has a negative coefficient. Positive coefficients, what do we mean? That the increase in runs, it increases the run differential. So even here, the increase in wins, it increases the run scores. So when you come to bubble charts, still the same thing. But with bubble charts, it represents the third identity. A bigger balloon has more value than a smaller balloon, even though we are looking at the wins and the runs. So I think that is it. I may not explain much, but when you start using them, you can always get the correlations and relationships. So how do we use this number of home runs and the salary by player, ice cream sales and the average temperature, hours of television watched by age? So the moment the age goes high, the hours watched go low, you'll find that it is a negative coefficient. Like the more hours watched, the lower the age. The lower the age. Kids will want to watch for more hours than the elders. Yeah. So if you plotted such a graph, you'll see it having a negative coefficient. Negative correlation, or the coefficient is a factor. So here the pro tips, they are telling us that add a trend line or a line, yeah, it is a line of best fit. So a line of best fit quantify the correlation. So a line of best fit tells us the relationship we have. Now let me bring it nearer. If you have quantities and you have tare weights of tracks, which means you run here quantities and tare weight of tracks, you'll find that a tare weight has five, a tare weight that has five, a track that has 5 as a tare weight, it will be carrying like 2 tons of cement. The more the tare weight, those are now the pooling, the higher the tonnage you will see. So when you correlate your data on a chart like this, it will be in this format. Then you'll say that it has a positive correlation. The higher the tonnage, the higher the tare weight, the higher the tonnage that truck will carry, which goes in reverse in other things. You can do a lot of comparisons in real life. Remember that correlation does not imply causation. So, which means what causes the other one to appear like that, it is not the correlation. The correlation just tells us the relationship. Now, bubble charts have already spoken on that. For them, they will give you the 3D. So adding a 3rd dimension size to a scatter plot, it becomes a balloon, sorry, a bubble chart. So here you are dealing with 2. But the moment you add a 3rd, it becomes a bubble. Do we have a bubble here? Just a moment. Let me see if we have a bubble chart here. Oh no, we don't have a bubble chart. Okay. But it's good. Oh, it's here. It's here. Oh yeah, it's here. So you'll see when I click on these bubbles and I come to my data, you see the bubbles are showing, you see what is showing here, that I'm running run differences, the wins, and I'm looking at the salary. But when I click on this, it is only looking at the RS, which I may not know what it meant, and the wins. When I click on this, it also shows only 2 dimensions. But the bubble chart goes ahead, also shows the salary. The bigger the bubble, the higher the salary that player is getting. So here you can tell yourself, why is BAL earning a high salary? He has few runs, he has few wins. But we find someone here who is hardworking, CHA, who has high runs, high wins, but low salary. So you'll find one of them is either son to the Gambano. Anyway, that is just a flopping. But that's how you can always correlate this. You can always tell a difference. And when you have something like this and you reach in to your audience, those are a group of CEOs, their attention will always be to this person. Why is this person's balloon smaller? Yet this person has done the runs and he has done this. You'll always find there is a reason why it is like this. Either this person took for leave and came back later, of which we are not showing anything to do with leave. That will be the cause. A lot, which can be in the back end of the graph you're showing. Okay, I will not explain much on the balloons, but try them out. Now we have the box and the whisker charts. These ones, we use them in statistics. Always they are used to correlate with errors anyway. So visualizing statistical characteristics across data series. So it is always in statistics. Those people who have done online marketing, you have seen something related to this. And when you look at the examples here, comparing historical annual rainfall across cities, analyzing distributions of values and identifying outliers. So where you find that you have an outlier, you have an approximation you're doing in the back end, That's why you come and use the Boxy and the Whisker charts. Those people who do research, you'll find that your research will need to use this because the research will be having data, most of it that is either extrapolated, either it is approximated, something to do with that. I may not tell you that this is the data you use, but at least those examples give you a hint. Now, we have the tree maps and the sunburst charts. Yeah, the sunburst chart, it is not widely used in Excel, but you'll find it on some webs where it explains a lot, like you see here examples. In other words, it does visualizing hierarchy data within the natural groups. So like if you're doing revenue by book title, by subgenre and the genre, then you'll find that you're using this, which means one of the pivot, actually this is another mode of a donut chart, if you have seen how we use the donut chart. Then a tree map, which means the bigger represents high value and the smaller represents low value. Okay. So water flow charts are always friendly, and we always use this mostly in accounting, where you'll always populate the sub aggregators to a certain aggregated number, like gross revenue. So where you'll want to know, for you to get gross revenue, it was gross profit, an addition of gross profit, operating income, net income. So the additions of these small additions like marketing, commissioning, they come and populate a gross revenue, which splits down to come up with a net income. So the splitting down is always considered in a flow chart, which will always aggregate to a specific value we are looking out for, which is always either on the right or on the left. So here they are saying, showing the net value after a series of positive and negatives. So you have costs, you have revenues. So in that, so the decrease, these are the costs. The increase, these are revenues. So you see, these are returns, the revenues here, the interest revenue, then the others are costs. So we always use this in accounting or any document or any visual that needs you to populate those different series that add up to a certain number, which is a bigger number of it. We have funnel charts, which are like more like bar charts. If you don't want to use bar charts, you can always come for funnel charts. But this one just shows the progress of stages. If you're looking at stages, like you see here, start, 100% of the people running marathons started. At 5K, we had 99%. At 10K, they had remained 88. At halftime, at half the marathon, they had remained 70. That at finish line, we had 50%. So it clearly shows you the trend. That is a funnel chart. Picking this, it is more like a bar chart. Okay, we have the radar charts. These ones, I may not explain more about them, but they always show the quantitative variables on a two-dimension chart. So the more the line extends to the category, it means that category is more on that that parameter, I can say. But we shall see how this one all comes into context. The surface and contour charts, I'm going to skip that. This one is used more by the geographical researchers, because it shows more on the map than you can show it on a chart that is plain. Okay, we talked about the bar and whisker, which also comes in context in combination with stock charts. So the other part also, we shall look at heat maps. Last time we did a heat map and it gave us a visual, it narrated a story for us. So When your data is not easy to summarize, put it in a table, create a heat map. It will automatically send out a signal that every 9 a.m. on Thursdays, actually every day from 8 to 9, it's red. And it starts becoming amber. So the greener is always early morning. These are temperatures, I think. Accidents, actually, car accidents in Cambridge. And even in the evening hours. It means that between 8 and 6, that's where we have high traffic. And that's why the accidents are more. And now you can see on Sunday, even on these other days, there is green. Why? Because the movements on the road on Sunday are very low. Then you can look at Monday how it is, and you look at the other weekend also, which is dimming low. So it just tells a story. Even here, when you come to this, the average high temperatures. So it just tells a story on the weather, how it happens by month, by city. I think that is it. I'm not going to add more. The more we shall do a pre-read, actually it's done. So the more we are going to do is tomorrow, when we are going to deal with exactly data, and we are going to do a rehearsal on all these. I know with charts we have used them, we are just doing a recap on either what you knew or what you didn't know, and now you know how it works. I will invite questions. As I said, I'll leave this at 1.5 hours, not overstretch it since the number is even low. And since we are doing a lot of theory, I know some people should have switched off, but I will request if you have any question. Like if you have a chat you have been using and you're not seeing it, you can ask that question, then just prepare for tomorrow. Any question? So we have the next 3 minutes. Okay, Linda, I get it. So I know with this theory I've gone through, we may not have a lot of questions. Yes, questions will generate when we are touching base with data. The moment we start dating our hands with data, then questions will come. So I think I will also keep it low. I know you may not ask any question before you put it in practicality of it. But otherwise, thank you for attending the session. It has been fruitful. You'll realize how fruitful it is when we start putting it into context. So I think that is it. Tomorrow, let's come geared and let's join somehow early. At least we shouldn't wait for the 3 minutes, the 5 minutes, because, and let's be prepared by tomorrow, knowing that when you miss tomorrow, then you have missed a lot. Because the next sessions where we are going to create dashboards and reports and how we can format the beautiful, as how they say, you may lose out, or we may, you'll see as if it is high speed if you don't join tomorrow's call. In case there are any changes, we shall update as always on WhatsApp. But otherwise, I wish you a good evening. So,
thank you.
Susan, you can go ahead and take over your recording.